Woo! Woo!
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night.
See, I'm going to mute for our evil overlords for a moment. Take that, Mark Zuckerberg.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Wednesday. It is midweek. It is the glorious eve of not only March Madness officially. I know we had some play-in games last night. We'll have to talk about that. I just can't get geeked up for the play-in games, but we'll talk about it. But tomorrow, oh my God, it's March Madness and St. Patrick's Day, and our resident Irish broadcaster, unless Jeremy Kolok is Irish, I don't know. I'm just okay. Haven't checked your ethnicity or seen your results from a 23andMe test. When I got my results from a 23andMe test, I found out A, there's some Polish in me, and B, I found out I was 0.5% Neanderthal. I am not making that up. I am your resident morning Neanderthal broadcaster, Chris Duel. But Shannon Salty Sweeney got a lot of Irish going on. She's even been drinking Guinness in Dublin, Ireland, where they make it. Shannon, are you geeked up about St. Patrick's Day? And I just say, we start weekends early here. We just should declare this a 48 hours of St. Patrick's Day. We should just start it right now.
Yeah, I'm geeked up. I always enjoy celebrating the day. One of my dogs was actually born on St. Patrick's Day, and so her name obviously ended up being Potato because you couldn't get more Irish already. But yeah, I've got the. I don't drink Guinness, but I did buy it for the household, and then I am gonna go with Irish whiskey to drink tomorrow. So I got an Irish whiskey I've never had. Hopefully it goes over well. Hopefully it doesn't do something bad to me to where I show up here just out of my mind on Friday. Hopefully I'll be back in full. But yeah, I'm looking at the tournament times right now. First game tomorrow, tips at 11:15 a.m. Michigan versus Colorado State. It's so terribly exciting. You just mentioned we've got some play-in games going on right now. I'm with you. I can't get up for the play-in games. I think if your team is in there, yeah, absolutely, everyone's watching. But compared to March Madness, where you will sit down and watch no matter who is playing, flipping back and forth, making sure you've got your eyes on other scores, no matter who's on the court. It's just not the same vibe for those play-in games.
Yeah, I would say if your team is in there, or if like your team is sitting there waiting for a play-in and you're going to find out who you're going to play, then maybe you pay attention. But the two games last night, for those of you scoring at home, and one of them involved two Texas teams. So you would think we'd get into it, but we didn't. The play-in for the number 16 team, I think the winner of this gets fed to Gonzaga. I'm not sure. I'll have to check that. Let's see. It was Texas Southern over Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which bums me out because my nephew, Matt McCoy, went to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So if I was watching that, I would have had a rooting interest. But Texas Southern wins 76-67. So they become a 16 seed. Meanwhile, in the other one last night, it was Indiana over Wyoming. If you would have told me Indiana's playing Wyoming, I would have picked Indiana and been right. Indiana 66, Wyoming 58. Man, Indiana in a play-in game, Shannon. I remember the days when Bobby Knight was the head coach at Indiana many, many years ago. And I mean, they were one of those. They were like Gonzaga or Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky. There was a time when every year Indiana was just right there. So was UCLA, but just right there as a contender for the Final Four. But times have changed, apparently.
Yeah, and I'm looking. It looks like Texas Southern, who won last night, they're going to be taking on number 1 seed Kansas, so they'll have a big push shot. For whatever reason, I'm not seeing who Indiana is going to be playing quite yet, but they have moved on to get into the tournament. And
I saw 12 somewhere.
I saw an article.
One of the 12s. It's one of the 4 12s
yesterday, and the headline was just about the disrespect for Indiana to be on the outside looking in.
Speaking of disrespect, somebody at A&M was making a lot of noise yesterday. Somebody wrote a 9-page letter. Let me pull that up. And I saw as Don Harris, whom I love. He's the sports director at News 4 San Antonio. I saw him tweet out last night. It was Coach Buzz Williams, coach of the Texas Aggies, sent like a 9-page letter ranting and raving about how the Aggies got screwed over by not being selected for the tournament. And Don Harris tweeted is like, hey, it's not like you're the first team to be on the bubble and not get in. And oh, by the way, there was a moment in this season where the Texas Aggies lost, what was it, 8 in a row at one point? And then they lost a recent game by 15. So A, you're a bubble team. Could have gone either way. B, you lost 8 in a row. So if I'm like choosing between you and somebody else, I'm going to say, okay, who didn't lose 8 in a row at some point this season? And finally, who in the month of March did not have a recent 15-point loss? So I love the Aggies. We got a lot of Aggie friends, among them James Allen, who is in India right now. My gosh, I keep following James's social media. He's on kind of this crusade, spiritual tour in India. It looks cool. Can't wait to talk to him next week and learn all about it. But Texas Aggies, everybody's been screwed over and not getting selected at some point or another. And A, this was your turn. And B, you kind of brought this on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you do not leave it to make it be all or nothing with your conference tournament, right? They had to win that conference tournament in order to secure a spot. They were still on the outside looking in with chance of getting in, but you left it up to that chance. Yes, you had a great run, obviously, to get to the championship game, but ultimately you need to take care of business in the regular season. And, we always talk about quality wins, quality losses. They played a lot of ranked teams, but they only beat Alabama, who was number 25 at the time at the end of the season. All of their other games that really would have helped leave a mark and a great impression on those who assigned the tournament seeds. You didn't do it. You didn't do enough. And again, that falls back on the regular season more so than, your recent run in your conference tournament.
Okay, now speaking of March Madness and the tournament, and it starts tomorrow. Two things I said I was going to do yesterday, Shannon. Number one, watch Winning Time. I forget what the subtitle is. The beginning of the Laker dynasty. Jeremy Kolok, do you have it memorized, or Shannon? Winning Time, and is it the beginning of the Laker dynasty?
It's
something of
when
that.
it starts. But
I watched. I made it halfway through, and then something came up, Shannon. But I did see. Oh my God, Jerry West! What a rough childhood. What a strange dude. I mean, I've known about Jerry West since I was a kid. I remember I was 11 years old in 1972 when the Lakers won the title, and I remember staying up late at night because those playoff games were replayed at night, like after 10:30, after the 10 o'clock news. Times were different in the NBA. And I kind of dug the Lakers as a kid because I liked Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was on that 72 Lakers team. Jerry West was a big part of it. So it's like I've known about Jerry West since I was like 10 years old. And I knew he was a big deal. And, he was a great Laker. And then he goes on and he's a Laker executive. And then in the Kobe era, he's an executive with the Memphis Grizzlies. And don't get me started on this. He gifts Pau Gasol to the Lakers for like a bag of Doritos. It was a total inside job. It was like, hey man, I'm now with the Grizzlies. Hey Lakers, you want Pau Gasol to go with Kobe? Now that Shaq left, okay, we'll take a bag of Doritos for him. It was insane. But it's amazing, Shannon, all these years, I did not know what a super freak. We got to bring back Super Freak of the Week. It's Super Freak of the Decades will be Jerry West. But so anyway, and we'll talk more about Winning Time a little bit later. But the two things I said I'd do, I only halfway did one. I did not do the other. I said I was going to watch Winning Time. I got halfway through. I'll try to finish it today. And I said I would fill out my bracket and I'd be ready because we got a bracket challenge with you and me and Jeremy and all of our listeners. We're going to see who's the best and we're going to see who sucks the most. And maybe we'll have to do some Mike Taylor show humiliation on whoever has the worst bracket. But so Shannon, I am delinquent. I suck. I've not done the thing, and I think a lot of people are in my boat. We got one more day, as you mentioned. 11 o'clock tomorrow is the first game, if you don't count the play-in games, and I don't, of the tournament. So we got one day left to fill out our brackets, and I got to get on the horn here.
I'm with you. I haven't done mine either. I'm still waiting for the printers to be fixed here. They do. The printers, I can see them now on my computer, but they're not actually connected. And I guess I'm old school. I like to write it in, because that's how that's when I make it permanent, and then it's much easier to go online and fill it out from there and not feel like I'm missing up something. But I'm with you. I need to get on that. And if you want to get on that and join Chris and I in busting your brackets beginning tomorrow at 11:15. Make sure you head over to the CBS bracket webpage and search The Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney and join us. We've got lots of people who have already completed their brackets. There are a couple like you and me, Chris, who are in there but have not completed theirs. Chris, I believe, tweeted out the link this morning. It is also available on the station's socials. So easy for you to find, easy for you to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, I'm going to get on that. I better, because tomorrow it's drop dead time. So fill out your bracket. And speaking of brackets, I think a lot of people are, and I've done this before, Shannon. I've waited till like the last second. Sometimes I've filled out brackets at like 9 a.m. on the Thursday. I don't want that to happen. I want to get it done today. But before we reveal our poll question, as you said, and I'm the same way. I like to look at it on paper. I'm old school. I like to fill out my bracket. But the big question, Shannon, and we'll ask Jeremy as well, do you fill it out inside out or outside in? Do you say, hey, because here's what I'm thinking. I may just go Coach K, just because I believe in the magic and like a magical finish. And, I might just pick Duke and then back it up. But I've gone back. Sometimes I just start, okay, here's the beginning of the tournament. I'm going to pick the first round. I'm going to pick the next round. I'm going to pick Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4. Do you go inside out or outside in when you fill out your bracket?
In writing it down, it's outside in, but I definitely sit down and consider who I think is going to be in the Final Four and have that in mind as I'm filling it out. And sometimes you run into a roadblock. You go, oh, wait a minute, the way I've done this, it's like doing a maze. You go to a restaurant, and they give you a kid's menu and you do a little maze and you're like, I got this. And then you run into a dead end and you're like, well, wait a second. Now I'm not going to be able to get where I wanted to go. So that's the problem with me, like physically writing him down. But I typically do have my Final Four in mind as I get started.
By the way, Jason Paniagua just reminded me it's winning time, the rise of the Lakers dynasty. And I did look at the credits for episode 2, and we'll try to get Jeff Pearlman on the show. We've had him on before. He wrote the original book, but his original book was called Showtime, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. I got to believe HBO said, their executive said, we can't, our number one rival is Showtime. We can't have a show on HBO called Showtime. That must be the reason, because the book was called Showtime and the Lakers were called Showtime. So that has to be it, right? I gotta research that.
Yeah.
And see what happened.
And it might be like less
That's
of
funny.
HBO being like, we have a show called Showtime, because they may kind of like that in a way, but more of, we don't want Showtime, the network, to then come after us for a series, right? It's a limited series. It's not like it's going to be running for 10 years. It's not worth the battle.
Good point. Okay, Jeremy, A, have you filled your bracket out yet? And B, when you fill it out, do you go outside in or inside out?
Yes.
I've filled it out. I filled it out, I believe yesterday
Wow.
morning when I was in here, because I feel like your gut reaction is important here. At least for me, it is. And because of that, I fill outside in, like going into the champion. I think that's very important for my process, because you never know how matchups could affect things. I might look at it and be like, man, I really like Baylor this year, but then they have like a weird match or something even psychological. If you're like, I really like Kentucky, but then Coach Calipari gets matched up against Memphis and has some weird thing because he used to coach there,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean? Something like that. So it's very important for me to see the matchups before I just start putting Duke all the way through because of Coach K. You never know what he's going to run up against.
Yeah. And I mean, my gut feeling at the moment says Duke's not going to win this thing. But I remember when I picked when Brady went to the Bucs, I said it's going to be Brady and the Bucs over Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I said that would just be magical. I picked it; it happened. So we'll see. I'm going to do it today. We're going to do it. So we're putting the link out there. I tweeted it out. We'll make sure it's tweeted out. It already has been. I mean, if you go look at AM 1300 The Zone on Twitter, or you go look at Ticket 760 on Twitter, or go to the websites, you can find the link. It's there. But we will tweet it out again on all of our social media and the station social media so that you can do it. And we're going to determine, we haven't yet, we're going to come up with something for the winner. Don't know what it is yet. Maybe, you'll come, maybe you can come with us when we do the James Allen Fuegos pilgrimage to eat the James Allen monster taco burrito at Fuegos, and we'll pay for your all you want to eat at Fuegos. I don't know. We'll come up with, it'll probably be a prize package with a bunch of stuff. So we'll figure it out. We just haven't figured it out yet. Maybe I should fill out my bracket before we figure out what the prize is and the humiliation. I'm kind of, after talking with Mike Taylor on the show yesterday, I think we've got to follow his lead and start humiliating people who come in last place in any of these competitions. Coming up, a very unlikely high five. This is almost like us giving the high five play of the day to Cole Beasley, but we don't. It's not Cole Beasley, but it's like if you would have bet on who's going to get a high five this morning from Shannon, from me, from Jeremy, this, and I'll go ahead and reveal the gender, this dude would not normally be high on the list. So that's going to be interesting. Shannon's Salty Shakedown in the 7 o'clock hour with sports history and sports birthdays. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs on a Spurs game night against Oklahoma City tonight. Does Bill Schoening fill out a bracket? And if he doesn't, I think we need to wag a finger at him. That's pretty. If you don't fill out a bracket, I question your Americanness. I think you're kind of un-American if you don't fill out a bracket. I'm just saying. We'll get into that as well.
I'm just saying.
Thank you. I'm sure OJ fills out a bracket. We got to get OJ in our tournament. Jeremy Kolok is your Soundscape Stylist. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. We're with you till 9, whether you like it or not, on the Chris Duel Show. Way to go, Jason. Jason filled out his bracket. You're a good American. Good morning from Dallas, John Williams. What is up, sir? Let me see. I got a photo here somewhere of today's show. This kind of shows you. See if I can upload that. If there's a limit as to how many photos I can upload, I must be approaching it fast. Let's see. Where is that? There it is. Okay, so on today's show, this is kind of a graphic representation of the show. You got Bill Schoening. You got Coach K. We've talked about both those guys. Carlos Correa. Haven't said his name yet. We will. Deshaun Watson. Where's he going to go? There's me. There's Shannon. There's Jeremy. There's the whole crew. See, Jason, it's a good idea, but gosh, I can barely handle the men's bracket. I mean, maybe that's a thought. I first got to figure out how to get the men's bracket done. But that's a discussion. Maybe we'll bring that up with Shannon. Are we being sexist by not doing a women's bracket? Should we do both? Are we not woke enough if we're just doing the men's bracket? All right, I'm going to heat my coffee because I had some dreams. They were clouds in my coffee, and you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. Don't you? Don't you now? John Williams says Friday is National Sleep Day. How much sleep do you get? To which Jeremy says, not enough. Not enough, John Williams. I have been sleep deprived since 2019. Wes Perkins is in here. Good morning, Wes Perkins. I got my coffee, which is beautiful. Bill Schoening at 8:05. High five play of the day coming up. Man, good for you, Sam. Sleep is a good thing. Yeah, I have heard, I forget what the number, it's way over 8. I think it's 10. I have heard that LeBron James is adamant. He makes sure he gets like 10 hours of sleep every night because obviously sleep restores your body on a cellular level. It repairs the cells of your body, including brain cells. And that's what, I'm so sleep deprived with these hours, especially during Spurs season. I wonder what it's doing to my brain. My brain needs all the help it can get. Oh, Anthony, I saw it, man. I saw that moon driving in. In fact, you see I think the full moon is tomorrow night officially. Full moon, March 2022 is, hello. So March 18th. Okay, at what time? Now, again, that could still mean the 17th if it goes full on the 18th and on another side of the 3:20 Eastern. 3:20 a.m. Eastern on Friday, so 2:20 a.m. our time. 2:20 a.m. Friday, it's officially full. So that's cool. Yeah, 2 days ago I was driving in, and the moon at like 5:15 in the morning, the moon was setting over the horizon, and it was just, as it is, when it's high or low on the horizon, it was orange, and it looked amazing. So that was way cool. Yeah, we will get into that Baker Mayfield. Thank you. That's an interesting moment from Baker Mayfield. Yeah, if you're well, according to this, the moon already set. Oh, no, that's the wrong. Okay, never mind. So the moon is still up. Okay. But yeah, if you hear us and you get a chance to go look out, and the moon, wherever you are, is still up, and it should be. It was pretty high on the horizon when I walked in. Check it out. Dennis LaRue, what is up? Thank you, Dennis, for liking the hat. Dennis LaRue, a great man, Air Force veteran, does a lot of great work with people as a life coach. A lot of great, helpful, practical, inspiring, positive videos that he does, among other things. Check him out. Go find him on Facebook. You see his name right there. Easy to find him. Go Google him. Get to know him. He could probably help you out. Maxwell is in here. Yeah, that Randy Gregory thing, we're going to get into that too this morning. That was kind of crazy. Maxwell's a big Cowboys fan. Has a lot of great Cowboys insights. Here we come. Gabe Quintanilla. GQ. What up, GQ?
Dialing 1-800-707.
That's what I'm talking about. Jeremy Kolok. If you're outside, and even if you're not, Jason Paniagua pointed out on our live video feed. No, it was Anthony Del Toro said it. Anthony, got to give you credit. Anthony says there is a beautiful moon out there this morning. If you're outside driving, look a little bit above the horizon to the west. Or if you're inside, poke your head outside and look west. I saw that driving in this morning. It is way cool. Officially, I looked it up. The full moon officially happens at 2:20 in the morning on Friday morning, the 18th of March. Shannon, did you see the moon driving in this morning?
This morning I didn't notice it. I did notice it yesterday. It looked nearly full. It was super bright, especially out here by the iHeart Studios. But I didn't take notice this morning. I don't know why. Maybe I was too engaged with my coffee.
Could have been blocked by a cloud.
That's true.
Well, and part of it was because like two mornings ago, I drove in and it was just setting. Right as I'm pulling into work, it was like big orange on the horizon as it was setting. So, each day now as it gets fuller at the same time of day, it's a little higher on the horizon. So when you were driving, it was probably up so high that it was probably not in your windshield just yet. But check out the moon if you can this morning or tonight or tomorrow. It'll be full by Friday. Chris Duel show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Before we get into the high five play of the day, just a couple things we want to remind you of. The free iHeartRadio app is so cool. You can message us instantly at any time. In addition to listening to us, the sound is crystal clear, no static at all on the iHeartRadio app. You go listen to us either via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. That red microphone button will be on the bottom of the screen. You just touch it, leave a message, send it. We get it instantly. We tend to play them all on the air as long as you don't swear too much. We could even bleep it if you swear. So you could even, we'll give Jeremy, could you bleep this guy? He's a lot of F-bombs. Apparently he didn't like what we said. So anyway, you can do that. We invite you. You can join the show either on the live video feed via Facebook Live, Twitter, or YouTube. You can dial us up on the phone lines. We love taking your phone calls. 800-707-9760. Just after 8 o'clock, we're doing it all week. You can win tickets, actually passes, 3-day passes to see NASCAR at COTA. Circuit of the Americas. It is beginning on the 25th of March. That is beautiful. Also, we've got a bracket challenge. We're putting it's at the CBS Sports website, but we're putting the link all over the place via our social media, via am1300thezone.com, ticket760.com. You can play with and against Shannon, Jeremy, and me, and other listeners and viewers to these radio stations and these radio shows. We'll come up with something for the winner. It'll be cool, I promise. And we will mock and humiliate the loser, which could just be me, the way my bracket picking tends to go. So we'll talk more about that in a month. In fact, what I want to talk about in a minute with Shannon, get a female perspective on this. Somebody said to us on the live video feed, "Hey man, how come you guys aren't doing the women's bracket? You should do the women's bracket and the men's bracket." It's a thought. I mean, and I just said I haven't even done my men's bracket yet, so I can barely handle the men's bracket. But why don't we? Why aren't more people doing a women's bracket challenge. We'll talk about that, among other things. We'll get into Carlos Correa, Major League Baseball free agency, Cowboys NFL free agency, what Randy Gregory pulled on the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. We will get into that and a whole lot more. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us at 8:05. It is a jam-packed show, and we will unpack right now the High Five play of the day, which is appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. And when you go to one of those locations, you might just see Shannon Salty Sweeney wielding an axe. They've got axe throwing. Shannon, what else do they have at High Five?
Well, plenty of TVs to take in both the men's and women's tournaments over the next few days, next couple of weeks as the madness unfolds, and plenty of great eats and drinks to enjoy while you're there. Chris, you mentioned earlier that today's high five is maybe going to someone that people would not expect us to give a high five to. But it is the high five play of the day. So this is strictly about the play of this guy on the court. Last night, he put up 60, which is the most ever by a Nets player and the most in his career. Kyrie Irving, the Nets were on the road to play the Orlando Magic. They ended up winning that one 150-108, and Kyrie Irving in 35 minutes had 60 points. He actually scored 41 in the first half. Quite a display, and if we're going to show love to Karl Anthony Towns when he puts up that many against the Spurs recently in the week, we've got to show love to Kyrie Irving. And listen, right now he's a part-time employee, so I kind of expect that out of him when he's showing up to work. He had the most minutes of any Nets player. A lot of people seemed like they were actually disappointed that he didn't go for 80, seeing as that he had 41 in the first half. But 60 is nothing to scoff about, especially when your team as a total puts up 150. So today's high five to Mr. Kyrie Irving.
Never thought we'd give a high five to Kyrie Irving, but there it is, and it's only fair and it's only right. And again, how weird, on the second consecutive night, Shannon, in the NBA, somebody scores 60. And of course, sadly, 2 nights ago, as you mentioned, it was against the Spurs. Karl Anthony Towns got 60. And it's interesting, as you mentioned, Kyrie had 41 at the half. So everybody thought, oh man, he's going to get 80. I remember in the Spurs game 2 nights ago, Karl Anthony Towns had 56 after 3 quarters. And I saw Don Harris, I mentioned him earlier in the show, from News 4 tweeted out he's going to go get 70. And, he wound up getting 4 more points in the fourth quarter to get 60. But it's amazing, 150 points by the Brooklyn Nets. That game did not go to overtime. The night before, Minnesota put up 149 on the Spurs. That one was a little closer, 149-139. And as you mentioned, Shannon, that 60 points being the most ever scored by a Brooklyn Net. And I believe also going all the way back to the New York Nets and Dr. J. Julius Erving in the ABA. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the NBA. I think in addition to players jacking up a lot of 3-point shots, I think in general, NBA players are just not playing defense anymore. It's like, the way you see players play in the All-Star game, it's like, let's, we'll kind of get in your way a little bit, but whatever. We don't want to exert ourselves, and we don't want to injure ourselves, and we don't want to collide and, maybe lose games. So let's cooperate and graduate. Let's all get along, and let's run up and down the field, the court, and jack it up, and let's score 60. That's happening more frequently now.
I absolutely agree. I mean, look at some of your top scorers in the league, James Harden and LeBron James. What are the 2 things they're known for? Great shooting, not active on defense. I mean, almost not even there. There's been plenty of videos floating around of them as well as others just letting guys drive right by. It's almost like, hey, if they shoot a 3, I'll put a hand up. If they're going to try and dribble around me, I'm not getting my body that low and possibly injuring myself. I'm not going to take a charge here. It's just 2 points. It's not 3. Who cares?
Yeah, it's just so strange. It's interesting how the NBA just goes through cycles. And this is the scoring cycle. This is the 3-point shot cycle. Yeah, I remember in that Tim Duncan era, and again, Pop and the Spurs stressed defense. So, I mean, there would be games in the Tim Duncan era that were like, 83-76 Spurs. This is just it's a whole new era. And now back to Kyrie Irving for a moment, and just so unusual for us to give him a high five. Ever since Kyrie said the earth is flat, it's like, dude, have you ever traveled? Have you gone around the world? Have you looked at photos from space? Have you figured out how planets orbit one another and what the sun and the moon do, and sunrise and sunset? He lost me on the earth is flat. Whenever somebody says, it's like, real, I don't get it. I don't get the level of absolute ignorance. So not a James Harden. Excuse me, James Harden. There's a Freudian slip. I'm not a James Harden fan either. Not a Kyrie Irving fan. But he's an asset. He's a great player, and sometimes great artists and great players are misunderstood. And it's going to be really interesting as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, which are less than a month away. I know the regular season ends on April 10th, and here we are on April 16th. If the Brooklyn Nets are eliminated from the playoffs in a home game that Kyrie Irving doesn't play in, that is just so weird. It's going to be interesting just to see how it plays out. I know more and more there's pressure being put on the New York mayor and the New York governor. And you talked about earlier in the week, Kyrie showing up at the game as a paying customer without a mask. And then we find out about the Brooklyn Nets getting fined. Like 3 days in a row, Kyrie was in the news. It was like Sunday night, he shows up as a paying customer, and it just looked weird that he's not wearing a mask, but yet he can't play. The next day, the NBA fines the Brooklyn Nets because they allowed Kyrie Irving into the locker room. And then last night, Kyrie goes for 60 and the Nets go for 150. It's like all Kyrie news all the time lately.
You mentioned the playoffs, and what if they get knocked out because the lack of Kyrie? It's almost, we always talk about how important having that advantage in the playoffs of home court. You wonder if you're the Nets, if you're like, well, if we get 4 games on the road for this series, then we'll have 4 games with Kyrie. That's wild to think about, and to think that we are approaching that time of year, and New York is kind of they're currently debating right now how they're going to handle those things, especially as baseball now getting underway. Baseball players, even though that sport is outside, those players cannot play at home if they aren't vaccinated.
I didn't think about it till you said it, Shannon. The Brooklyn Nets, this might be their plan, because in a 7-game series, you want most of the games on the road because you'll have Kyrie. They're in the 8 slot right now in the Eastern Conference. So other than the play-in series, if they survive that, then throughout the regular playoffs, they would not have a home court advantage in any of those series. The only scary thing is they would have home court in a play-in tournament, which, you can get eliminated very, very quickly in that. So, wow. Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And we're getting closer and closer. I want to just ask you this, Shannon. And again, it's even better because we get a female perspective on this. I forget who said it, and I'll scroll through and try to find out. Somebody during the break said, we're doing a men's bracket challenge. We should have a women's. Why aren't we doing the women's bracket? And then Dennis LaRue pointed out UIW, the University of the Incarnate Word in San Antonio, they are in the women's tournament. So, we got a Texas local-ish team involved. From your perspective, Shannon, A, you're a woman. B, you're a huge sports fan, and you do brackets every March Madness. Why aren't we? Why don't more people fill out a women's bracket?
Probably fill one out, but the tournament itself, we discussed a lot last year, the discrepancies between what the men receive versus what the women receive. And that still comes down to the NCAA. And given that the tournament just isn't shown in the same light as the men's, the men's bracket challenges from all of these different websites and what have you, they're offering thousands of dollars or all of these grand prizes. You don't hear that for the women's side of things. So just lack of incentive for one. I think also obviously just interest in the women's game, although it has gone up, it's still not the same. This is the first year that they will have March Madness on the floors for the women on all levels of the tournament, right? They're finally getting what would be considered the bare minimum, but it still isn't enough, according to a lot of folks. And I'm sure we'll see some inside looks via players' Instagrams and TikToks when they get to their team hotels and start playing in those facilities. But yeah, just a general awareness of the tournament, excitement of the tournament, and if it's not out as much, it's also harder during the regular season. We can easily talk about men's basketball, right? Because we hear the stories, we see the stories. You don't see those highlights from the women's game nearly as much. So the NCAA, they've got a lot more work to do. They've kind of, they've laid the groundwork this year. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see how it comes out. But I don't think people really get into that women's tournament until the Final Four.
Yeah, with most of the games, I think being telecast on the 4-letter network, you would think it would make sense for them on their website to do a bracket challenge and have a lot of money go to the winner. It would seem to me that would try to create more interest for the women's tournament. Just something to think about. Little Stevie Ray Vaughan, baby. Mr. Jeremy Kolok just all over it, as he always is, as Soundscape Stylist. We got a lot coming at you in the 7 o'clock hour. We are going to bring you Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. And let's get into Carlos Correa. Are the Astros going to make it happen? Are they going to get Correa and other free agency? And what Randy Gregory did to the Dallas Cowboys, coming up on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Woo, woo! I got to answer some emails here real quick. Let's see. All right, we got that. Do I need to heat my coffee? Probably. Yeah, I see some of these points here. Dennis says the NCAA doesn't promote the women's game well. I do agree with that. Early regionals are home games in actual arenas of the best teams. It lacks the pizzazz of a neutral court. That's a factor, too. Totally agree with that. Yeah, Maxwell, I wanted Dan Quinn to be the coach, and I really think the fact that he's sticking around, maybe Jerry Jones had a conversation with him. I think there's a good chance of that he, you know, I think there is going to be a short leash on Mike McCarthy. I got a feeling. All right, I'm going to heat my coffee. Little preview of what's to come. Yeah, thank God for microwaves, Dennis. Yeah, Von Miller, there is talk. DeMarcus Lawrence was on a podcast saying he would love to see Von Miller come to the Cowboys, and Von wanted to be a Cowboy coming out of A&M. Woo! Woo! Yep, John Williams, I do believe that's going to happen. Let's see what's going on. Tracy Bogert sent me, and I didn't see it live, and I saw people talking about it. Mike Taylor's television appearance on KSAT 12. And I clicked on it. Now what's going on? There it is. Okay, now is the TV version there or no? I don't see the video here. I see the written. Okay, there's video. Okay. Let me let's see here. I haven't. All right. Yeah, but Maxwell, I really think, that 28-3 loss was such an aberration. And one or two plays here, and it doesn't happen. Welker makes a crazy catch over the middle. If he wins that Super Bowl, and he should have, and he can't go play defense against Tom Brady when Brady's at the height of his powers. He's completely thought of differently. So, and you add in what he did last year with what was a historically god-awful Cowboys defense. Yeah, I do believe Maxwell, Sean Payton will be the guy eventually. Sam, I did just go find the Mike Taylor interview. In fact, for everybody here, I think I still have it. I just posted here for everybody. And there it goes. Oh, it was Julian Edelman. All right, Wes Welker. I'm living like 10 years earlier. Thank you, Dennis. Yeah, clock management will not change, Dennis. I agree with that. Yeah, clock management and mental mistakes and all those penalties. What was it, 12 penalties in the Niner game in the playoffs? To me, and you're an Air Force guy and a leadership consultant, Dennis, that's all culture. That is culture and discipline. Cowboys have to stop being a country club. And, watching Hard Knocks, I do not get the feeling that Mike McCarthy is a leader of men. Anyway, that's just me.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
That's just me. 12 penalties. Thank you, Sam.
Night divides the day.
I have to mute for a moment because of our evil Facebook overlords who boot us if they hear music.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a beautiful time of the year, a beautiful moon that is waxing that we saw this morning driving into work. It is the eve of March Madness, the NCAA men's and women's basketball tournaments coming at us. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Shannon's going to drink a brand new Irish whiskey that she never tried before. And I got to ask her what's the brand of that. I meant to ask her that earlier. So much to talk about. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jesse Bratton just wrote on the live video feed, "Good morning, y'all. Shh, Mike Taylor has a hangover." So so we will have to talk a little lower. I've got such a loud voice. But if Mike Taylor's listening, and I think he's probably asleep, but Mike, hope you're better. Mike, by the way, we were talking about it, and we may talk more about it. I've got to go look at it, but Mike Taylor did an interview yesterday on the local ABC affiliate in San Antonio, KSAT 12. They interviewed him at the radio station at the iHeartRadio headquarters in San Antonio, and he has become an advocate for transgender kids and transgender families. And Shannon, I just since somebody brought his name up here, just kudos to Mike Taylor for stepping up, taking a stand from his own personal experience as a dad, raising some awareness for these kids and the parents of these kids and the families of these kids who, might otherwise have a difficult time. We're finally, I think, as a people and a culture, learning that people are different sometimes, and different is good. Diversity is good, and everybody's their own person. Everybody's their own human being, and we should probably celebrate uniqueness instead of demand conformity. So anyway, you see it. I'm doing it on video. A tip of my cap to Mike Taylor. So there's that.
Yeah.
We might even have to give him a high five at some point.
I know a lot of times, he's the wild and crazy guy on the radio, but you strip all of that away. He is a fantastic human being and father, and so a wonderful advocate for such a cause.
Very cool. Way to go, Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor Show, 4:00 in the afternoon, wherever you are listening to this show this morning. So much to talk about. By the way, Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, in less than an hour. We'll talk Spurs. We'll talk NCAA tournament. We'll talk everything sports with Bill Schoening. Later this hour, Shannon Salty Shakedown. Oh, by the way, top of the 8:00 hour as well, your chance to win passes all 3 days. NASCAR at COTA coming up later this month. Circuit of the Americas. We're giving away those NASCAR passes all week long. That's a very cool thing. And don't forget the the free iHeartRadio app. You can hear us crystal clear, AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. There's a microphone button at the bottom, a red one. You can send us a message instantly. And Shannon, it's only 1 day left, so we can't pimp it enough. Tell the people about our bracket challenge. They can play with us and against us at the same time.
The show pool is titled The Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, so you can do it the old-fashioned way. Head over to the CBS website and look it up, or you can hit us up on socials and get the link. If you can't find it for whatever reason, go ahead and hit Chris or I directly. We will gladly send you the link to our pool. Tip off tomorrow, the first game, 11:15 a.m., so you have until then to fill out that bracket.
Do we have a name for, are we calling it, because I every time I send the link out, I default to bracket challenge, but do we have a name for it? Is it bracket madness? Is it Lollapalooza? Do we have we need a catchy name of some kind, don't we?
Extravaganza.
There you go. And for our listeners in Jamaica, extravaganza. In fact, if I was smoking ganja, I could probably pick a better bracket. Maybe I should look into that. Or drink some Irish whiskey. Shannon, you revealed earlier in the 6:00 hour, tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day, you celebrate it for your people, the Irish people. See, the Neanderthals, we don't have a holiday. My people are the Neanderthals. I'm 0.5% Neanderthal, according to 23andMe. All we have are the Geico cavemen commercials. That's all we've got. So Shannon, you said you're going to try a new Irish whiskey. What is the brand of the Irish whiskey that you shall celebrate with tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I've done Jameson, Tullamore Dew, some of the more well-known Irish whiskeys. I've seen a lot of Proper 12, which of course is UFC fighter Conor McGregor's brand. There's been a lot of commercials pumping that as of late. But I went with a Bushmills Black Bush. I'd never seen it before. The label had a lot of medals on it for awards that they've won. I think they've been around since like the 1600s. So I'm looking forward to that. I just got a tiny bottle because again, it is a weekday. So I'm not looking to hurt myself because I do need to be available to concentrate, watch basketball for multiple days and be able to take it in and understand what I'm seeing and not be out of my mind. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it tastes good because like I said, I don't like Guinness. I've done the Guinness thing. It does taste better in Ireland at the plant, but still tastes like Guinness to me. And it's just I can't do the dark stuff. It's too heavy. It's too, no, thank you. I'll have a glass of water.
I like Guinness when I'm in the mood for it. And again, Guinness has a special place in my heart. When Kinky Friedman ran for governor of Texas in 2006, I used to have Kinky Friedman on the radio every week. We called the segment Radio Free Kinky. And Kinky came down and we did some live radio remotes at the Flying Saucer in San Antonio. And I had never had a Guinness, and Guinness is one of Kinky Friedman's go-to beers. So Kinky bought me my first Guinness, and he bought me many subsequent Guinnesses after that. So it's a cool beer. My God, you drink a pint of Guinness and it'll take care of you. So, Jeremy, do you have an opinion or a stand on Guinness beer or Irish whiskey, and how will you be celebrating St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, lots of basketball, lots of college basketball. But
exactly.
when the time comes, if there's a day to drink Guinness or Irish whiskey, I think Shannon has the correct day down, even if it's a weekday. I mean, come on.
Yep.
And Bushmills Black Bush. Shouldn't Reggie Bush do some commercials for Bushmills Black Bush? I'm just saying. If I were the marketing person for Bushmills Black Bush. Hey, everybody, I'm Reggie Bush for Bushmills Black Bush. It'd be cool.
I don't know how Irish she is, but it could work.
Whiskey.
It could work. Now, of all days.
I dress him as a leprechaun. I dress him as a leprechaun in the commercial.
Well, you mentioned leprechauns, and we're talking about the Irish. Notre Dame, part of the play-in for the tournament. They play today. I mean, is that bad? Or, because one day off for the luck of the Irish, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, wow. Now, and again, speaking of Reggie Bush and USC, as a USC Trojan, I am a sworn enemy of Notre Dame, as you know, Shannon. But I did not realize, and again, I don't pay close attention to the play-in games, but now that you mention it, Notre Dame against Rutgers to play in for the 11th seed. That is at Dayton, Ohio tonight. I'll look in. It's on True TV. This is where they get me in the tournament, True TV. I don't even know where to find True TV, Shannon. Both of those games tonight. You got a 5:40 game for a 16 seed. Bryant versus Wright State. I got to be honest, I've never heard of Bryant or Wright State. And then your late game is Notre Dame versus Rutgers. Yes, I've heard of Notre Dame and I've heard of Rutgers, but they're on True TV. I love that every game is televised, and it should be as God intended, but I have no idea how to find True TV. No idea where it is.
I want to say, at least in the Austin area, it's up in the same numbers as like a TNT. So like the 60s, I think. I don't know about San Antonio, but yeah, it's one of those where I have to go to the guide and scroll until I see, college NCAA college basketball. And then eventually I get to the point where I've got like at least 2 channels and I'm just using the flip back button.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Once I find it, I need to like write it down and go back to it. But anyway, kudos to the Austin cable outlets for putting True TV near other like TNT, so it's easier to find if you know that. All right, Shannon, lots going on, and we're all over it. NFL free agency and Major League Baseball free agency. We'll talk some Carlos Correa coming up, and man, more and more I'm seeing reporting, or at least tweeting out there, that Jim Crane, owner of the Houston Astros, is really trying to redouble his efforts to keep Carlos Correa as a Houston Astro. But Cowboys news yesterday, and it was so weird. I first hear that Randy Gregory is a Cowboy. They're signing him. He's signed, sealed, and delivered. And I thought, all right, if Dan Quinn, who I believe is the Cowboys coach in waiting until Sean Payton shows up, if Dan Quinn wants to keep Randy Gregory, then in Dan Quinn I trust. All right, cool. Then I blinked, and apparently, nope, Randy Gregory apparently reneged on his deal with the Cowboys. He flipped, and he signed with the Denver Broncos. Shannon, what the heck is going on here? What up with Randy Gregory, and what was he smoking when he was doing this yesterday?
It's garbage.
Thank you, Coach.
Across the league, free agency has been fast and wild, and a lot of times it's hard to know who's telling the truth, right? Because you get accounts that are reporting one thing and they may or may not be verified. But you're right. The Cowboys themselves yesterday released a graphic about the re-signing of one Randy Gregory, and then minutes later had to delete it when Randy Gregory pulled a U-turn to sign with the Denver Broncos. Apparently, there was some language within the contract that Gregory and his agents felt like was a little misleading. They felt maybe a little bit lied to. It had to do with forfeiture. But after doing some digging, Jane Slater, as well as others, found that language, that specific language, is in every Dallas Cowboys player's contract except for one Dak Prescott. So unless he felt like he was Mr. Dak Prescott himself and shouldn't have that language whatsoever, or if he and his agents just didn't take the time to do their due diligence, they said, nope, screw you, Dallas. We're going to go to Denver. We're going to be a DeMarcus Ware, I guess. And I guess, okay. But from where we were like 24 hours ago, Chris, I was feeling okay about Dallas Cowboys free agency. I was like, okay, some of these moves, we'll miss those guys, but it's all right. I understand the cap situation. There'll be new guys coming through the draft. We'll be okay. Yesterday, that was a bit of a hit, though. That was a bit of a hit.
Yeah. When he's focused and when he's good, Randy Gregory can deliver the goods and can be a force for that Cowboys defense. But I saw a lot of people reacting to this, Shannon. Well, first of all, what you just described, Randy, come on, you're no Dak Prescott. Every other, as you point out, Shannon, every other Dallas Cowboy has that same language in their contract, which makes me wonder, was Randy Gregory and were Randy Gregory and his agent predisposed to want to go to Denver? And of course, we all know Randy Gregory loves his weed. He loves his cannabis. He loves his pot. He loves his ganja. And it is legal and plentiful in the state of Colorado. So what I wonder now, Shannon, for a guy who's gotten multiple suspensions, and for a guy who looked like he was almost willing to give up his NFL career for his love of weed, and yet it is still, it's still illegal in the NFL. When he's in Colorado and you can, call Uber Eats probably and get your weed delivered in Colorado, how is that going to affect Randy Gregory? And as I say that, oh, by the way, I believe that adults, especially when it comes to weed, if you're an adult and you want to smoke a little weed, feel better, and I know a lot of athletes use it for medicinal purposes, among other things, I'm cool with it. I wish the NFL and the state of Texas would change its position on weed, but since they're not, and specifically here, Shannon, the NFL, how do you think this is going to affect the future of Randy Gregory?
That's an angle I hadn't really thought of. And, I would imagine that he and his agent had to have a discussion, right? Because the agent's money is pretty closely tied to the player's money. And if there's something in that contract that says, you get popped, you get whatever, that's, we're both losing money here. So I would think that would be something that they would have both paid attention to, but also knowing Randy Gregory, that was probably a little helpful in getting him to go ahead and sign with Denver. Now, what's interesting here is that he is going to Denver, and Von Miller, who left Denver midseason to go to the Rams, won a Super Bowl And then started taking to his Instagram in recent weeks and posting pictures of himself in his former uniform, asking if he'd be able to get his number back and things of that nature. He's now being tied to the Dallas Cowboys, which came on very hard and very quickly after Randy Gregory was announced as a Denver Bronco. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I love it. I love it. And Shannon, I've talked about it with you when Von Miller was coming out of Texas A&M, and he wound up being the second overall pick in the draft. He said multiple times publicly, "I'm a Cowboys fan. Jerry Jones, trade up and come get me." And so this might be a case of, we talked about Tom Brady growing up a Niners fan and wanting to somehow become a Niner before his career was over. Von Miller, may, whatever the numbers are, he may be predisposed. And he is a Texan. He's from DeSoto, Texas. Well, as I mentioned, went to A&M. He had his time with Denver. And as you pointed out, and you talked about it when it broke, changing his social media to show him in Broncos gear. He wins the Super Bowl last year with the LA Rams. I would love it on so many levels. As he proved with the Rams last year, he still has a lot left in the tank. He is 32 years old. In fact, his birthday is March 26th, so he will turn 33 10 days from now. So I believe he still has a lot in the tank, and I think he's motivated to be a Dallas Cowboy, and certainly has been his whole life, and certainly coming out of Texas A&M. So do it, especially now, Shannon, that Randy Gregory's gone. Go get Von Miller. Not to mention the fact, I love having guys in the locker room who have a ring. And we talked about those stories, Shannon, that what he did with the Rams last year, he brought a Vince Lombardi trophy to the locker room that was in that locker room, practice after practice after practice. I got to believe it's a replica. I don't believe individual players get a Vince Lombardi trophy. But and to me, Shannon, that's leadership and that's symbolism. And he was showing his fellow Rams teammates, hey, I got one of these with Denver. We can get one of these. Look at it, visualize it, make it real. Let's go win a Super Bowl. I would love to see Von Miller do that in the Dallas Cowboys locker room.
Yeah, and you've got Dallas Cowboys great DeMarcus Ware, who also happened to spend time in Denver. Miller tweeted kind of like an eyeball to the side, looking suspicious after everything went down yesterday. DeMarcus Ware said, "Von Miller, just saying, I may be, what if I join to mentor the guys down there this year?" A lot of people on the train for Von Miller coming to the Cowboys. Now, interesting that all of the reports say the Dallas Cowboys currently doing their due diligence on Von Miller. What does that mean? I mean, go after him. Go. What more do you? I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean. But hopefully we get something done today and it's not Von Miller signing elsewhere.
How cool if by the end of this day, the Cowboys signed Von Miller and the Houston Astros signed Carlos Correa. I may buy me some Bushmills Black Bush and just start guzzling it for St. Patrick's Day. Now, Jeremy, you have been tracking. We got a very interesting comment from one of our viewers on the live video feed, Jacob Lutz, talking about Randy Gregory's agent. And again, this whole Von Miller possibility might have been triggered by Randy Gregory flipping on the Cowboys and going to the Denver Broncos. What do we know, Jeremy, about Randy Gregory's agent?
Yeah, this whole situation just seemed shady, like y'all mentioned. But so I looked it up. The comment from Jacob Lutz said that Randy Gregory's agent is from the Denver area, or he lives there. He's based out of there. So I looked it up just to see. And his agent is Peter Schaefer, who's he's a pretty big agent. He has a lot of NFL players under his agency, and he runs an agency. He owns his agency out of Denver, Colorado. And on top of that, he owns multiple training facilities in the Denver area. So just kind of a weird situation, if you ask me.
Well, and again, what I was wondering was, was that agent and was Von Miller, because of the weed, was Randy Gregory, Randy Gregory, was he predisposed to want to go to Denver? And now that you tracked that down, Jeremy, with the agent being from Denver, I got to believe that had to, obviously the agent wants to make money wherever he can make money with Randy Gregory, but I got to believe that might have been an influence as well. So, not to mention the fact that if the agent for Randy Gregory lives in Denver, you're just naturally, more about that team. It's just like, if you live in Austin, more about the Texas Longhorns, more about Austin FC. If you live in San Antonio, more about the Spurs. When I lived in Los Angeles, when I went to USC, I couldn't help but every day in the papers, there was Lakers news. So I was a huge Spurs fan, but I just kept, here's what the Lakers are doing today. The Lakers are on TV tonight with Chick Hearn. I guess I'll watch. So, over time, you learn more about the personnel and just the operations of that team, whether it's in college or in the professional ranks, just by living there. So that I'll bet you that had an influence. That's fascinating. Kudos to Jacob Lutz watching us on the live video feed. We love it when our viewers / listeners bring stuff to the table that we were not aware of. So Jacob Lutz, you get the prize, whatever the prize is, the kudos for that segment. Very cool, sir. Quick break coming up. It is Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We've got sports birthdays, we've got sports history, and a whole lot more. And don't forget, top of the hour, Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, on a Spurs game day / game night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We'll not only talk Spurs, we'll certainly talk NCAA Tournament, March Madness, and more with Bill Schoening coming up. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, ready for the Salty Shakedown within moments. Jeremy Kolok is making the show go. We are with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Louisa, I hope the Cowboys can afford Von Miller. Good morning, Beth Settle. I saw you jump in here during that segment. Good morning, Beth. See who I see here. Then I'm going to get even more coffee just because. James Vick, Anthony Del Toro, Steve Duraco, Jason Paniagua, Tracy Bogert, Lucinda Sullivan, Hector Gomez. I mentioned Louisa, John Williams, Wes Perkins, Dennis LaRue, Maxwell H., Gabe Quintanilla, a.k.a. GQ. I think I said Sam Tobias, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. Jesse Bratton, good morning. Funny line. Jesse saying, shh, Mike Taylor has a hangover. Very funny. Jacob Lutz, you rock, Jacob. Thanks for that info, man. We love it when you guys bring something to the table that we were unaware of. That was cool. All right. Whoops. Woo! Woo! People were trying to get Mike Taylor and Nina Duran to be a couple last night. That would be a very interesting, eclectic couple. That could be a thing, man. I understand Mike Taylor is on the market. So who knows? I guess that was on his YouTube show, I'm imagining. All right. Back in a sec. Should probably get some ice as well.
Let's be real. Mopping is a hassle. You have to fill the bucket, pushing the wet, heavy mop around, then cleaning the mop when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Woo! It was on Thunderdome Live last night. Thank you, Sam. Let's see. I got ice for my iced coffee or for my iced tea. I haven't moved into the iced coffee thing yet. I've heated my coffee, so I am guzzling hot coffee and iced tea. Thank you for the caffeine. However, if the Cowboys sign Von Miller and the Astros sign Carlos Correa, I will be guzzling Bushmills Black Bush Irish whiskey. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm into the iced coffee thing. Especially in the summertime, I'll stop by a Starbucks and get me some iced coffee. Woo! Bill Schoening at 8:05, 30 minutes from now. Always entertaining, always insightful. Whoops. Yeah, man, Bobby Wagner. How cool would that be? And he hasn't been signed yet. Man, if they got, the odds are against it, but if they got Von Miller and Bobby Wagner on that defense, ooh. See you later, Randy Gregory. That would be an upgrade. Here we go. Woo! Woo! All right.
Let's get back to the Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Jeremy Kolok is spinning the tunes. He is your Soundscape Stylist. He is quite outstanding. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us just after the top of the hour on a Spurs game day / game night. Spurs host the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight at the AT&T Center. We'll have that game for you coming out of Spurs Radio 1200 WOAI and across the Spurs Radio Network beginning at 7 o'clock tonight with pregame. Don't forget, also, just after the top of the hour, your chance to win passes to see NASCAR at Circuit of the Americas. It begins on March 25th. You get a pass for each day. It's beautiful. You can win. We do that all week. Don't forget our bracket challenge, our bracket Lollapalooza. What did you, Jeremy, you had a good name for it. What was your, what are we calling this?
Extravaganza.
Extravaganza. Yes. Our bracket extravaganza in Jamaica. It's our bracket extravaganza. Go play with and against us. Fill out your bracket across all of our social media. We're putting it out there. It's at the CBS Sports website, but just either go to at Shannon B. Sweeney across social media, at Chris Duel. And Jeremy's already filled his out. I still have to. Shannon still has to. Go to our websites, am1300thezone.com, ticket760.com. Fill out your bracket, and let's see who's best, and let's see who's worst. That should be fun. All right, all of that coming up in just a moment. But first, how about, before we do Shannon's Salty Shakedown on this March Madness and St. Patrick's Day Eve, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? On this day in 1964, Paul Hornung of the Green Bay Packers and Alex Karras of the Detroit Lions were reinstated after a 1-year suspension for gambling on football, to which Atlanta Falcons wide receiver Calvin Ridley said, "Hold my beer." He wasn't born yet in 1964, but Calvin Ridley, welcome to the suspended for gambling club in the NFL. On this day in 1985, two-time Cy Young Award winner Denny McClain is convicted of embezzlement and drug trafficking and sentenced to 25 years in prison, but that conviction was later reversed. On this day in 1991, New Jersey Nets head coach Bill Fitch becomes the fourth coach in NBA history to win 800 games. Greg Popovich said, "Hold my beer" on that one. And finally, on this day in 2020, Major League Baseball suspended the remainder of spring training and delayed the start of the regular season in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The return of baseball would be dependent on recommendations from the Centers for Disease Control. As we know, baseball didn't get started till way later in 2020. It was only a 50-game regular season instead of 162 in 2020 before it was all said and done. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1934, American football coach Howard Schnellenberger, one of my favorite names, Schnellenberger. Howard Schnellenberger was a coach at the U. He coached at Miami. He coached at OU, Oklahoma. He coached at Louisville, Florida Atlantic, and at one time with the Baltimore Colts. Howard Schnellenberger was born in St. Menirod, Indiana. Never heard of that place. He passed away in 2021. Born on this day in 1966, NFL quarterback Rodney Peete quarterbacked with the Philadelphia Eagles, had a cup of coffee with the Dallas Cowboys. Rodney Peete went to USC, and in college versus Troy Aikman, Rodney Peete was 2-0 as USC beat UCLA each time Troy Aikman was quarterback. and Rodney Peete was the winner. Kind of worked out differently for those guys in the NFL. Born on this day in 1989, NBA forward Blake Griffin. Clippers, Pistons, now with the Brooklyn Nets. Went to OU. Blake Griffin was born in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And finally, born on this day in 1994, Philadelphia 76ers big man Joel Embiid was born in Cameroon on this day in 1994. That's your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here's your St. Patty's Eve, March Madness Eve, salty shakedown.
Chris, what I love most about March Madness is that it's not just for the people that have been paying attention to basketball all year long. Everybody gets into it, whether you like it or not. A lot of, like you say, it's un-American not to fill out a bracket. Everyone seems to do it.
True.
Even athletes who've got their own things going on, one of which being Jordan Spieth. He was recently asked about March Madness and if he had any sleeper teams that he thought people should watch out for. And if you know Jordan Spieth, the answer shouldn't be a surprise, but I'll let him give it to you. Here it is.
I mean, I think, I went to Texas. I think Texas is going to be a sleeper. They're solid defensively. And then, if they shoot the three ball well, I mean, you get hot shooting in the tournament. Obviously, that's what it comes down to. But I got to go with my horns, obviously.
Good man.
Obviously, he's got to go with his horns now. Texas fans know that Texas can easily rise to the occasion because they are capable of playing a really great basketball. But if they do like they did in the Big 12 tournament, it's going to be a quick out for them. A reminder, game 1 for Texas against Virginia Tech on Friday at 3:30 p.m. That game is being played in Wisconsin. Currently, Texas favored by 1. Chris, it's a Wednesday before the start of the tournament, 2 days out from the Texas game. How are you feeling about them right now?
Well, you got to win game 1 against Virginia Tech. I mean, it's the Longhorns. It's the huge brand. It's Chris Beard. It's Chris Beard's first foray into the tournament with the Longhorns. I think they're going to, let's see. I think they're going to win at least 2 and get to the Sweet. It's Chris Beard, baby. They're going to at least get to the Sweet 16. And I hope go further. But yeah, they're going to make some noise.
I think Sweet 16 is what would be expected of a Chris Beard-led team. But we'll have to see. It's hard for me at this point to go all in on the Horns, just knowing what they're capable of and then what they're capable of doing wrong. Second story today, Chris. I thought this was great. I saw this on TikTok, actually. It was a bit of a surprise to me. Wow. Andrew Whitworth, of course, a Rams player. He is 40 years old. He just won a Super Bowl. He was also this year's Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He's beloved by players and coaches and fans alike across the league. And after winning the Super Bowl, the question was, are you done? Are you going to come back and play more football? He took the time off. The retirement was officially announced this week. However, along with that announcement, there is now a clip going around because he was mic'd up during the Super Bowl. And at the end of the game, while the confetti was still falling, he was in center field with his children, and they caught this moment on camera. So even though the retirement was just made official this week, it seems like he knew in his heart of hearts what he was going to do. Here he is.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yes!
Thank y'all so much. I love y'all.
Love you.
Hey, listen to me. Listen to me. Are you listening?
He's up the study on your head.
Okay, but listen. That was Daddy's last football game. That's it. No more. I'm going to be home with you guys. Okay? Promise. I'm going to be a better dad. I'm going to be around more. I'm going to coach the crap out of you boys. We're going to have some fun. Okay? I love y'all.
Now, Chris, I can understand why or how he had already made up his mind and then decided to wait on an official announcement, right? To let that win of the Super Bowl sink in, to spend that time with his family before it became about, okay, what's next? However, I also find it interesting that NFL Networks or whoever it was who had him mic'd up and had this audio and had the video to go with it, you know, everyone was so quick to call Tom Brady's retirement. No one did a thing when we had audio proof of him saying that this is it. I'm done. I'm satisfied. I'm going to be a dad now. This only came to light after his official announcement was made. Your thoughts on Andrew Whitworth and his plans to coach the crap out of his boys?
That it was just such a cool, heartwarming piece of video, but I totally agree with you. How did that not leak? And how did it not leak between the Super Bowl and now about his retirement? And secondly, it is such a cool video. I mean, he's out there on the field with his family. He takes a knee. He's in his uniform. He's sweating. He just fought for 3.5 hours to win a Super Bowl. I'm amazed that NFL Films and the networks didn't go, oh my God, this is such a great moment, that in the Super Bowl coverage the night of and the morning after the Super Bowl, that didn't go viral. Just the day after the Super Bowl, because it's such a great piece of video. If there is somebody at NFL Films who consciously said, we're going to keep this quiet until he makes his announcement, then kudos to them for keeping it a secret, because that's hard to do when it's such a big deal and you've got such a memorable, cool bit of video right there.
Finally today, Chris, I think this is a story you will enjoy. I thought it was a joke at first, but it's not April 1st yet, so it is very much real. This one involves one Mike Tyson. I wasn't aware that he owns his own cannabis company titled Tyson 2.0, and he's got a new product out. It is a line of edibles, and although their company could not be reached to say where exactly they are sold, they are going to be sold in California, Colorado, and Nevada. Pricing, people don't know about that either. But this new product, these edibles, are called Mike Bites, and you'll never guess what they look like. The little bites are in the shape of an ear with a bite out of them already. Genius marketing or taking it too far, because I kind of like it. Gross, but I kind of like it.
I that's what he's known for. I wonder, does Evander Holyfield get a cut of this? Yeah. Can they do commercials where Tyson and Evander Holyfield are next to each other and he goes, "Hey, let me take a bite," and no, I mean they could have so much fun with this. Shannon, until you just said it, I didn't know about this. I love it. I love it. I love it. And again, Governor Greg Abbott, if you would just legalize marijuana in Texas, Tyson's 2.0 Mike Bites, they could be sponsors of the show. Shannon and I could give them out as prizes to winners of our bracket extravaganza. So many possibilities for sponsorship and live remotes. I'm just saying, I'm thinking about the viewers and the listeners on the show, Shannon, but wow, that is, that's a brilliant idea. Somebody in the marketing department at Mike Bites or Tyson 2.0. That is cool. That is way cool.
You know, I wonder if Holyfield gets a cut or if his camp will try and come after them, because I don't know what Holyfield's ear actually looks like or looked like or where it stands today, but obviously everyone is going to associate this product with that moment. And, looking at the packaging, the package is a black bag with a giant ear on it with it cut out. And then obviously the edibles with the ear and the bite out of it. I don't know if they took a replica of Holyfield's ear or if it's just a simple ear drawing, but there's got to be a way that he should be getting a cut of this. I mean, he should be getting a cut of something. I mean, Mike Tyson got a cut of his ear, but there it is today, Salty Shakedown.
Oh. Wow. Outstanding Salty Shakedown, as always, punctuated by that last story about Mike Bites, shaped in the shape of an ear that has a bite taken out of it. And I wonder, and Shannon, it would be, I just wonder, does Evander Holyfield hate Mike Tyson? Is it impossible that they'll ever get together? But if they did, and what a great peace offering it would be on the part of Mike Tyson if he said, "Hey, I want you to have whatever 20% of the profits of this. Let's get together. Let's do a thing. Let's endorse this together." I just think the possibilities are endless. In the same way, we heard for so long that Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson didn't get along, and we saw them together, and we saw them on TV at Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. over the summer. I think it's time for Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson to bury the hatchet and get behind this product is what I'm saying. Yeah,
it looks like
Cool.
Holyfield was made aware of the product or possibly that it was coming out, but still no word on whether or not he's getting a piece. He should,
when
though.
somebody bites part of your ear off, that could take a while. Yeah, it took me 4 years to forgive Kawhi. It could take someone bites a piece of your ear off. And that's when you say Evander Holyfield now, that's what you remember, which is crazy. It's like Jackie Smith dropping the touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. He had a Hall of Fame career, but when you say Jackie Smith, you think of that drop in Super Bowl 13 from Roger. Evander Holyfield, he's kind of known for having his ear bit off by Mike Tyson, and that ain't right. And I get it, but you can move on. You can heal that wound, and you can enjoy some edibles, which I'm sure would make you feel better. I'm guessing. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
Thank you, OJ. Governor Greg Abbott, if you're listening, and I know we're big in Austin, just think of the revenue for the great state of Texas, and think of the children, because a lot of this money from Mike Bites could go to education. So think of the children. That's my message this morning to Governor Greg Abbott. All right, quick break. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, going to join us at the top of the hour. You got a sports update coming at you and a whole lot more. We'll talk Carlos Correa, Astros. Are you going to make my day? We'll find out. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He's Jeremy, with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. There you go, Jason. Evander gets a bite out of the profits. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Woo! Jeremy Kolok, rocking the free world. He's rocking the suburbs, as Ben Folds once did. Sam Tobias, rolling blunder. Oh, wow. I see what you did there, Sam. That's why Mike Taylor lives in Hawaii. Don't get me started on wanting to investigate the parents of transgendered kids for child abuse. Texas is getting so weird, man. Okay. I got iced tea. That's a good thing. Bill Schoening is going to join us. Always entertaining, insightful, outstanding. Where's my Bill Schoening pick? There it is. He will be on the phone here in just a few.
Grab your family and watch the 2022 iHeartRadio Music Awards Red Carpet Live, presented by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I want to see everybody. Shout out to all who got vaccinated, get your kids vaccinated.
So events like this are safer and just more enjoyable for all.
Live stream the exclusive Red Carpet Pre-Show March 22nd at 7, 6 Central on iHeartRadio's Facebook and YouTube channel. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov.
At Lowe's, every pro is an angry pizza. It doesn't matter how big or small your business is. If you're a plumber, roofer, electrician, or remodeler, your business earns back what you spend. It's exclusive offers and paint rewards. It all adds up to help drive your business. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards and Partnership Program today.
All right. I get some ice for my iced tea. I will be back.
Heavy mop around. Then cleaning them off when you're done so it doesn't grow bacteria. A hassle on top of a hassle. Try Swiffer Wet. With Swiffer Wet Jet, you start with a fresh pad and cleaning solution every time. And when you're done, you just toss the pad. Swiffer Wet Jet, the faster, easier, cleaner way to clean your floors.
Woo! Woo! Bill Schoening coming up. The voice of the San Antonio Spurs on a Spurs game day, game night. And kind of I think a critical 2 games for the Spurs here. If they're going to make a move and get to that 10 slot, look up a couple of things. I think we're down to either 16 or 15 games left. Let me do some Holmes High School math here. NBA. Woo, woo, woo. See, the Spurs are 26 and 43. Is that right? 26 and 43. Which is, they've played 69 games. It's an 82 game season. So are they have 13 left? We're down to 13 games. That can't be right. What's happening?
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
There may be a possibility that Stanley might ask you to cut.
All right. Let's see. All right. Did I get that right? I'm doing. And my math brain, first of all, has never been that remarkable. But at 8:03 in the morning, sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated, 26 and 43. That's 69. So there's 13 games left in the season. So yeah, Spurs are 2 games back of the Pelicans, but they've got the Pelicans coming up, who is below them in the standings. So my point is this: you got to win these 2 games. You've got the Pelicans twice in the next couple of weeks. You got the Pelicans this Friday, but you'll be at the Pelicans next Saturday, a week from Saturday. So, yeah, with 13 games left, 2 games out, and you got to win both your games against the Pelicans. I mean, at worst, you split them, but you'd still have to make up 2 games. So, let me just double check this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games left in the season. Wow, wow, wow. Jeremy is back. Bill Schoening about to join us. Jeremy calling up Bill. Get our Bill Schoening photo up as we should. There he is. Suitable for framing. There is Jeremy calling Bill. See if his lips are moving. That way we know we get Bill. Looks like we got him. Bill is always there. He's not hungover. Or is he? I don't think he is. David, welcome in. Says, go Spurs, go. Thank you, sir. God bless America. Go Spurs, go. Thank you. And did I get that right? 2 games out of the 10 slot?
This is the Chris Duel Show.
You know the day destroys the night.
Got to do a little muting for our evil overlords at Facebook.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. It is midweek. It is St. Patrick's Day Eve. It is March Madness Eve. I know there's play-in games tonight, one of them involving Notre Dame and Rutgers, but the actual tournament, when it comes to our brackets and all that, begins tomorrow in the 11 o'clock hour. And as I say that, play with us. We've got a bracket extravaganza. We've put the links out on social media. You can play with and against Shannon, Salty Sweeney, Jeremy Kolok, and me. So come do that. And if that's not enough, we got Spurs action tonight, baby. San Antonio Spurs are at home. There are still 2 games left in this 7-game homestand. And as I look at the standings, I think these next 2 games are critical for the Spurs. Against Oklahoma City tonight, Spurs have a better record than Oklahoma City. Spurs should beat them at home. And then Friday night against the New Orleans Pelicans, that's the team currently in the number 10 slot. The Spurs played them twice in these final 13 games of the regular season. It is still there for the taking for the San Antonio Spurs. Let's talk Spurs and let's talk NCAA tournament and more with the voice of the San Antonio Spurs. And he's got a new book coming out that we're going to be talking more about as it drops. And we'll ask him specifically when the book will drop, both the book itself and the audio version of the book. Voice of the San Antonio Spurs and author Bill Schoening. Bill, how are you this morning?
Thanks, Chris, very much. Appreciate the intro. And author sounds kind of strange, but yeah, I've been working on this thing since COVID hit. So it's finally done. It's finally at the publishers, and it should be out on Monday. It's funny because when you write a book and you do a whole manuscript and it gets edited several times, and then finally you're ready to go with the final product, and they want the pictures, right? So they put it in book format, and the publisher sent me back a note saying, "Congratulations, Bill, with the pictures and the book format, you have written a 312-page book." I said, "What? 312 pages, really?" So I never thought that I could write a 312-page book, but then she quickly reminded me that my initials are BS. So that certainly helps matters a great deal. So it'll be out on Monday on Amazon and
that's great.
On barnesandnoble.com. And so, folks will be able to pick it up. But yeah, I'm pretty fortunate to be able to, sit down and look at the stories of my life, basically. I don't know if there's a Chris Duel story in there or not. I'll have to double check.
I'll be in the sequel. I'll be in the
sequel.
Floor. Yeah, I'll do something outrageous to make sure you got to put me in the. So I can't believe Duel did this in 2023. But I gotta wonder, and two things. Number one, and everybody go look on Amazon or wherever you buy your books on Monday. But my first question, I know sometimes at Amazon you can pre-order a book. Is there an option for that? And I just got to ask you, what a feeling this must be for you. I mean, all of your years as a play-by-play guy, among your stops, the Texas Longhorns, the San Antonio Spurs, you've called NBA finals, you're a singer-songwriter, you've made albums, you've performed, live before people. We talked about your work with the prison ministries, but this has to be a very cool feeling to be days away from your first book being published. A, congratulations, and B, what does that feel like right now?
Well, it's kind of a strange feeling because I've just been so busy, Chris, with so many different things, and writing the book obviously was one of the things that I've been busy with over the last couple of years. Really, most of the writing took place in the first year, and then the last year was editing and finding pictures and trying to format the book and all that sort of thing, and working closely with the publisher who's up in New York, Red Penguin Books. So I guess there's a feeling of accomplishment, but really it's just it's still busy. We still got games. I'm doing college baseball this spring. I'm singing at church. We had a big rehearsal last night that lasted a couple of hours. So I'm still writing songs. I'm in the studio doing a couple of tunes. So, I'm very lucky that at the age of 63, I'm still busy, and still have a lot of different things going on. So I don't want to just settle down. I don't want older age to be a limitation for me. And so I want to try to stay active. We're already making plans for the summer vacation. I got to hit some more national parks, Chris. I love the national parks. I love this country. I love the beauty of this country. And I've been able to discover that over the last few years. And really working with the Spurs for the last 21 years has allowed me to do that because when I was the voice of the Texas Longhorns, I was very, very happy. I love that job, but I only had a couple of weeks this summer to travel. So now I've got the whole summer. So I've been trying to take advantage of that as well. So it's funny you said the first book because I've been thinking about that, how much work it took to get this one out. But I think that I've got another one in me. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I really enjoy writing. And once I retire, whenever that is, I think I'll probably retire to be that old guy that sits with a pipe. I don't have a pipe. I don't even smoke a pipe. But anyway, and a smoking jacket, like a lounge jacket, right? Sitting at the typewriter, the old typewriter guy with a pipe, banging out another book. Maybe it'll be a novel. I don't know. But I've enjoyed the whole process. It's been a lot of fun.
Bill, Chris and I have both been watching Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty on HBO Max, and they've done a really great job with casting. So now that you've got this book out, I mean, that is step one on your way to Hollywood and becoming a movie script writer and star. Who do you have in your mind to play you in the future movie adaptation of your book?
Young Tom Selleck. It'd be the young Tom Selleck for sure. You know, preferably shirtless Tom Selleck on the beach. I'm completely kidding about that. Obviously, I have not thought about that, Shannon. I don't think they're going to make this into a movie, but I just hope I sell a few copies. And you know, I did get a copy out to Chris, so I know that he's been busy this week. But we'll get the full report from Chris and the. You asked a question earlier, Chris, too, about pre-ordering. It's only available pre-order for digital.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if you're one of these people that likes Kindle and wants to read a book on digital, you can pre-order that now, and it'll be in your inbox on Monday.
Yeah, and Bill, I'm a total freak, and yes, I do, and I want to thank you. You sent me an advance copy. I am diving into it right now. I want to have it completely read by the time Monday when it drops, and certainly next Wednesday when you're with us. In fact, we might even try to talk you into a bonus appearance maybe next Monday, the day it drops, just to talk about the book if you're up for that. But we'll see how you feel over the weekend. That'd be a lot of fun to talk to you on the day your book drops. So I will. I'm going to dive into it and try to finish it all weekend long. But Bill, I'm one of these freaks, and I've kind of discovered this. I do have a Kindle. I like the Kindle because I can carry all my books with me no matter where I am, which is kind of cool. Yet I'm still old school. I like to feel a book in my hands. I like to turn pages, and I'm constantly highlighting no matter what the book is. I'm writing in the margins. This is a great story that Bill told. But the other thing that I really like now is, and you're going to have an audio book, is I like to hold the book in my hand and listen to the author while I'm reading. I like to hear the voice of the author read the book in his or her own voice, which I think is kind of a unique thing that we now have that we didn't necessarily have, certainly as prevalent, 20, 30 years ago.
Sure. And I appreciate that. We're recording the audiobook right now. The different thing about this audiobook is the first time Red Penguin Books has done an audiobook with music. So since I've written these songs, I'm going to include about 13 songs. And in the paperback, obviously, it's just the lyrics, but on the audiobook, it'll be the fully produced songs and the stories behind those songs, along with the other stories, of course, that I've got in the book as well.
Well, Bill, let's look at tonight for the San Antonio Spurs. They are hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they are on a 6-game losing streak now. So I think the Spurs got them right where they want them. How do we see this matchup for tonight? And are they going to be wearing the same color jerseys? Because that's a thing.
That happened with the Thunder and the Memphis Grizzlies the other night, I believe. Both teams came out wearing white. And they just kind of looked at each other and go, oh, okay, well, we got to do something here. And they sent the Grizzlies back to the locker room, put their blue uniforms on. I hope that doesn't happen this evening. Oklahoma City's a young team that has had a lot of injuries. They do have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back, and he reminds me so much of DeJounte Murray. Physically, they're about the same size. They put up very similar numbers. So that'll be a good matchup tonight, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against DeJounte Murray. But as Chris mentioned at the top of the hour, this is an important stretch here for the Spurs because they're going to be facing some teams that they have a chance to win against and also to gain ground on. And the New Orleans game, especially on Friday, gives the Spurs an opportunity to gain ground on them, get a full game on them with hopes to at least get into that 10 or 9 spot and a chance for the play-in.
Yeah, Bill, and I will tell you, I just went to Amazon, and I do see your book there on Amazon for pre-order for Kindle. $9, that is money well spent. Go to Amazon right now and pre-order Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a play-by-play lifer, Bill Schoening. All right, that's my commercial for Bill's book. Now, Bill, back to Spurs basketball. First of all, I was sitting here before you came on. I go, yeah, there's like 16, 15 games left. There are only 13 games left in the regular season. And as I look at these final 13, and yeah, I really believe these next 2 games are big for the Spurs. It's a big opportunity. Oklahoma City, you should beat them at home. They've lost 6 in a row, as you mentioned, Bill. New Orleans, then the big one, the team we're chasing right now, the New Orleans Pelicans are in the 10 slot, and they've got New Orleans, Bill, not only this Friday, but a week from Saturday at New Orleans. So it really seems to me, Bill, the Spurs control their own destiny. If they win the games they're supposed to win here in the final 13, I think we have a good chance to see them in the play-in game.
I agree, and they will have an opportunity to do exactly that if they can win some of these critical games down the stretch. And it's funny to think that it's down to 13 games left. They only have James Silas games left, right? Most people
Captain
would say
Late.
Will Chamberlain, but I would say James Silas maybe, since 13's hanging up in the rafters with Captain Late. Haven't seen him lately, by the way. He used to hang out up in Austin, and of course he went to Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah,
James Silas, Anyway, got off on the James Silas tangent there for a moment, but 13 games left, and yeah, they've got to play better defense. Obviously, they gave up not only 60 points to Karl Anthony Towns the other night, but they shot close to 60%. Did the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I know the defense is going to be certainly a point of emphasis for the Spurs over these final dozen games or so.
Bill, this is the first time we're talking to you since Pop officially broke the record with 1,336 wins. We saw video of post-game celebration in the locker room and fans in the stands going crazy. But as someone who was there to cover the action live, what was that moment like when the final whistle blew?
It was awesome. I got such a kick out of the players, though. I really did, because they know that Pop didn't want any pomp and circumstance. And, if it was up to Pop, he would have just, shook Quinn Snyder's hand and then headed to the locker room. But the players enveloped him. They surrounded him and wouldn't let him get out of that circle until they all celebrated. And DeJounte said he had no choice. He had to celebrate with us because we wouldn't let him go. And then, of course, they had another celebration back in the locker room, and DeJounte presented him the game ball. It just shows the affection, I think, that the players have for him and the recognition that they gave him, and to let him know, hey, look, you might think this is just another game, but we don't think that way, and we want to celebrate you right now. So I think the thing that I got out of that most is the fact that the players really want to Pop to celebrate that milestone.
Yeah, and Bill, I think about that moment, and as you know, I've been a fan since the Hemisphere Arena days back in the ABA. And as big as the NBA championship moments were, and they're huge, and I love them, and they're my favorite moments in Spurs history, and my favorite moments probably as a sports fan, including my Dallas Cowboy fandom, just because we're so close to the San Antonio Spurs. But to see Pop celebrated like that, and Jeremy, our Soundscape stylist, brought this up the other day. Every time the Spurs won a championship, Pop was very deferential. I mean, it was, all the credit went to Tim and David and Manu and Tony. And in the most recent one, Kawhi Leonard got a lot of props when they beat the Miami Heat. And I'll never forget that last championship, seeing Pop just go over to the bench and put his face in his hands and get emotional, which I was so moved. I was moved to tears watching that. But this was a moment for Pop, and he was reluctant. And again, he was so humble in postgame, and we played that on Spurs pregame. You played that on Spurs pregame the very next night. But it was so nice to see Pop get his moment where he personally and alone was celebrated, unlike the way the whole team and the players were celebrated during the championships. I just thought it was a very unique moment. And as a fan, Bill, I rank it right up there. It's like the 5 championships first, and then right there at number 6, Pop getting the record. It's a moment, and those images on the court and in the locker room, as a fan, I will never forget.
Yeah, and it's a reminder, too, of how good they were for how long. That they were so good for so long. And they've got records that will never be broken. There'll never be another NBA team, in my opinion, that will go 18 consecutive seasons winning 50 games each year. That just doesn't happen. There's too many changes that take place. And, of course, the one constant through all that was Greg Popovich. So you got to give him a lot of credit, a lot of stability with the organization. You look around the league, Chris, and you see coaches change every year, organizations that have a hard time getting any kind of traction because the front office changes, the players change, the coaches change. But that wasn't the case with the Spurs front office and with Pop. They had a steady ship all these years.
Bill, tomorrow the madness officially begins with the tournament getting underway. We got to know, are you an American? Are you filling out a bracket or have you already done so?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you guys. When I left the University of Texas to join the Spurs in 2001, part of my passion for college basketball left me because all my concentration, all of my passion went toward the NBA and went toward the Spurs. I keep an eye on it, but I don't have that excitement that I used to have. Now, the first weekend's always awesome. I love watching the first round matchups, and I love pulling for the underdogs. There's always going to be a 12 that beats a 5. I got to sit courtside and watch a 15 beat a 2 in 97. That was Coppin State defeating South Carolina, a South Carolina team that had defeated Kentucky, I believe, 3 times and won the SEC tournament that year. But that's what I love about the tournament is these underdogs, these small mid-majors, if you will, or even smaller than mid-majors, some of them with an opportunity. And that's why I don't like the NCAA football playoff as much, because I really would like to see that expanded to give an opportunity to a University of Cincinnati or whoever happens to break through that year and give them a chance against the so-called big boys and the big Power 5 conferences. But I think in the NCAA basketball tournament, they do have that. You do have an opportunity. Princeton has an opportunity to knock off a Georgetown every once in a while. That was a 16-1 thing. So anyway, I love the opportunity to watch that. But I have not been able to dive in to, I don't watch Selection Sunday anymore. I have other priorities going on. But and to me, college basketball, this is the celebration of the whole season right now with the tournament. But during the course of the year, it just gets a little tough because you got other things going on.
Now, Bill, of course, though, your connection to the Texas Longhorns, as the longtime voice of the Texas Longhorns, and I know you continue, especially Longhorn football, Longhorn basketball, Longhorn baseball. Just your thoughts on, Shannon and I were talking about this, Chris Beard, his first journey into the NCAA tournament with the Texas Longhorns. You look at all the appearances that the Longhorns made under Rick Barnes, under Shaka Smart, yet Longhorn fans were disappointed and always, not always, but often felt that the Longhorns should have gone deeper. How much pressure do you think there is on Chris Beard to, at least get to the Sweet 16? And what is your expectation for the Texas Longhorns in this tournament?
They're a very good defensive team. I've had a chance to watch them just bits and pieces. I haven't really watched a lot of college basketball this year, as I mentioned. But from what I see with this team, they're very good defensively. And if you can play good defense, you've got a chance every night. And I think they'll have a solid opportunity against Virginia Tech. I think it's going to be a tough matchup. But I think as long as they play defense, they're going to be in every game. The question for them now is, can they get some offensive rolling? Can they get through these droughts? They tend to have these scoring droughts where, we saw in the second half of the first round of the Big 12 tournament, where they just couldn't get over the hump there. So they've got to be more consistent offensively, but their defense appears to play hard every night. So that'll keep them in there. But I think Chris Beard's going to do a great job. They got to give him an opportunity to get, more players in. Obviously, the whole world has changed with the transfer portal and the NIL rules and all that stuff. So it's a lot different now than it used to be. But they're going into a new arena next year. He's going to have new players coming in. So I think the future is bright for UT basketball. But this might not necessarily be an easy first-round matchup with Virginia Tech.
He's the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. He'll have the call tonight as the Spurs take on the Oklahoma City Thunder at the AT&T Center. That broadcast originating from 1200 WOAI in San Antonio and across the Spurs radio network. Pregame, 7 o'clock with Bill. And Bill, I've got your the cover of your book. I pulled it from Amazon. I put it on our live video feed. And again, if we can grab you on Monday, the day the book drops, for a bonus appearance on this show, we would love it. And I got a private message. I hope he doesn't get mad at me, Bill. Jeremy Kolok, our Soundscape stylist, who has done work on the Spurs broadcast and done a bang-up job filling in for Mike Bartlett. He sent me a message that reads, "Do you think Bill would sign a copy of the book for me?" So, Bill, once we get the book, will you sign one for Jeremy? And is that your first request for an autographed copy of your book?
I've had several people request, they want me to send them the book. I'm like, well, why don't you order the book? And then when I see you, I'll sign it. But what we probably need to do, Chris, and we haven't even talked about this, and maybe we'll talk about it further. I'll do maybe a book signing in San Antonio and a book signing in Austin, and we'll have some folks out and have some fun with that. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the book, Chris. I think it's, Spurs fans should like it. There's some Spurs stories in there, but really it's just basically a lot of stories about, my journey and how lucky I've been and the people I've met, the places I've gone, the different opportunities I've had to do different things with different folks. There's even stories in there about covering the Texas prison system. As you know, I covered lethal injections. I covered prison overcrowding. For 6 years, I was in the prison, covering the prison system as a news reporter. So there's all kinds of different stories in there. But I appreciate the plug there, Chris. Great deal.
Well, and I can't wait to finish it. I'll have it finished on Monday, and that's when it drops. So go look for Bill. I know when I went to Amazon, Bill, I put your name in the search engine. Not only did your book come up, but your songs came up. There's individual MP3s of your songs that can be downloaded from Amazon as well. I didn't expect that. That's pretty cool. Did you know that?
Yeah. I did know that. Yes.
Nice.
But it's funny. I'm hoping to release some more music. Like I said, we've got a lot of things going on right now. So I'm just happy that I'm staying busy and staying out of trouble. Kind of.
Yeah. The book is. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, South by Southwest is going on, so I think tomorrow's going to be my music hang day where I get to meet some folks. And the cool thing about South by Southwest, you meet people from all over the world, not just all over Texas or all over the states.
Beautiful. Once again, go to Amazon. You just put Bill's name in the search engine. The name of the book, though, it'll pop up. Stories, Sports, and Songs, Tales and Tunes by a Play-by-Play Lifer by Bill Schoening. You can pre-order the Kindle edition right now. The book drops on Monday. We'll talk to Bill about the book next week. Bill, we'll see you on the radio 7 o'clock tonight. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Shannon.
Absolutely. The voice of the San Antonio Spurs, Bill Schoening. Jason Paniagua just wrote, a true Renaissance man, Bill Schoening. Shannon, you got to love it. Play-by-play broadcaster, singer-songwriter, and now author, Bill Schoening. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm trying to think of what else he needs to add to his resume to get him,
I got it.
Get the job he wants.
Ready? I got it. Astronaut. He needs to go up in one of those Elon Musk space shots. Or
let's start a GoFundMe.
His book's on Amazon. Yeah, there you go.
Let's do a GoFundMe to send
Okay, coming up. Bill in space, astronaut Bill Schoening. And that could be part of book number 2. Coming up, let's get into Baker Mayfield. What a day for him yesterday as the Cleveland Browns interviewed Deshaun Watson. So Baker Mayfield took to social media. Speaking of the Longhorns and the Cowboys, a former Longhorn and a Cowboy on the move to another team. We will get into that. And speaking of Deshaun Watson, we've got a new player for Deshaun Watson. And Shannon, we're a little overdue. We got to give away that NASCAR pass. Talk about the keyword. What's that going to be?
Today's keyword for your chance to win 3-day passes to NASCAR here in Austin when they take on COTA March 25th through 27th. Today's keyword is PASS, P-A-S-S. Take that keyword over to Ticket760 or AM1300zone.com and enter it on the contest page for your shot to win 3 tickets to this year's race, NASCAR at COTA. PASS, P-A-S-S.
And good luck. Lots more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! 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 Bill Schoening. That is so cool. Let me do that. See if I can get this thing done here. Let's try this. Okay.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that floor dust is kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe. Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors. Also take pads in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
Grab your family and watch the 2022 iHeartRadio Music Awards Red Carpet Live, presented by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I want to see everybody. Shout out to all who got vaccinated and kids vaccinated.
So events like this are safer and just more enjoyable for all.
Live stream the exclusive Red Carpet Pre-Show March 22nd at 7, 6 Central on iHeartRadio's Facebook and YouTube channel. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov.
All right. Yeah, Christopher, I'm sorry we didn't get to that question. I didn't see that there. We'll try to ask Bill that next time. Man, I'm looking at all these James Allen photos in India. He's got a really big thing going on there. We'll talk with him next week. The Ukrainian president, I'm looking at Twitter, is addressing the U.S. Congress apparently right now. That's got to be interesting. I'm going to have to look for the replay of that. Very funny, Jason. James Allen is going to come back with an Indian dish named after him. Probably. That would not surprise me. Man, I got to fill out my brackets today. It's the last, well, technically you could do it tomorrow, but you don't want to wait. First game's in the 11 o'clock hour tomorrow. So we'll get on that. Woo! Woo! Here we go. Here we go. Final segment. Goes a little bit something.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Spectacular tunes all morning long from Soundscape Stylist Jeremy Kolok. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. And Jeremy, are you mad at me that you sent a private message, and then what do? I read your private message over the air and to Bill Schoening. What a confidant I am. Are you okay with that, man?
No, that's all right. I just wanted to emphasize that I feel like it's the right thing for me to purchase Bill's book. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's tons of people that are going to ask him for a copy, like you mentioned. No, go buy this man's book. Come on.
He sent me like an advanced digital copy. I'm going to buy the Kindle just on principle. Two things. I want it on my Kindle because it's easier to read for me. You know, I can carry it around. And he's a guy we know and like and love, and I'm going to support his work. When Shannon writes her book and when you write your book, Jeremy, I'm going to buy your book. Yeah, that's got to be, hey, you wrote a book. Give me a book and sign it to me. It's like, no, we buy the damn book, Shannon.
I don't know if I can write a book, Chris. I don't like reading books, so I think it'd be wrong of me to write one for other people to read.
But that could be your book. It's like, I don't like reading books by Shannon Salty Sweeney. It could all be all about why you hate books. It'd be a huge bestseller. You should go with that. Well, and I think more and more now, it's like Bill mentioned, the audiobook's going to include some of his music. I think books are being redefined.
Yes.
There's an author I'm reading. I've read two of his books. His name is Young Pueblo. And he's like a spiritual guy, but he wrote a bunch of like life wisdom things on Instagram. And so he then took those and he put them into a book, and now the book's like a bestseller, and now he's huge. I think Oprah had him on. So, I mean, the way books are written and what a book looks like and sounds like and feels like, and the content, I think it's ever evolving. It doesn't, I think, have to be what it used to be. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll grab Bill on Monday if he seemed to agree to that, the day his book drops, and we'll have a bonus edition on Monday with Bill when his book drops. Now, Shannon, there's some stories we did not get to, and we will do that right now. Stories that you have been tracking, especially the whole Deshaun Watson Cleveland thing yesterday. The Cleveland Browns meet with Deshaun Watson, and while that meeting is going on, Baker Mayfield is posting on social media. A little weird. Tell us about that, and tell us how you feel about that.
It's still very strange because I think there's still just a lot out there. There's a lot of unknown as far as what really happened with Deshaun Watson and these 22 women. Obviously he's wanted out of Houston for some time, even before all of this came about, and he's still a great athlete and a great player. So from that standpoint, it makes sense that these teams would want him. Yesterday during the show, we learned that Cleveland was one of the teams interested in Deshaun Watson. And the thought was, well, if they take him, then I guess the trade would be for Baker Mayfield. But apparently the Houston Texans not very interested in Baker Mayfield. And then as far as Deshaun Watson news, a sleeper team comes out of the woods yesterday in the Falcons, which isn't, I guess, too surprising considering Matty Ice is on the older end of things, and potentially they're working on what's going to be next for that organization. But back to Cleveland, obviously Baker Mayfield seeming to be on the outs, right? He didn't get that contract extension prior to last season. This idea that the Texans don't really want him, he would not be a part of a trade for Deshaun Watson. He then released a statement yesterday directed towards Cleveland and talking about how the city has embraced him and his family. They wish nothing but the best for the city. Basically trying to play nice here. And just to see what happens. He did say, don't read into this. This doesn't mean that I'm willingly walking out the door, but I just want people to know that, like, it's not going to be, I'm not going to be the reason that I'm no longer the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, is the way that I read this statement, Chris.
Well, and one of the weirdest things about the statement, and I'm looking at it right now, he signed it his full name, Baker Reagan Mayfield. At the very end of his statement, he puts, sincerely, Baker Reagan Mayfield. We know him as that's like me doing a statement, sincerely, Christopher Allen Duel. I mean, that's my full name. Nobody knows me by my full name. People know me as Chris Duel. They know you as, now if you put sincerely Shannon Salty Sweeney, then we know that, okay, then I get it. But Jeremy doesn't put sincerely Jeremy Aloysius Kolok. He doesn't put his full name on a statement. So that's I think he was, and understandably, Shannon and Jeremy, I think Baker Mayfield was in a weird state of mind yesterday. Yeah. As you mentioned, Shannon, we learn not only might Cleveland go with Deshaun Watson, but then you learn, as we assumed the Texans would take Baker Mayfield, then you learn the Texans don't want you either. I mean, that might have been the worst part of his day. Not even the Houston Texans want you, dude.
And thinking of this and driving in this morning, because there was even talks of, should he maybe go to a Tampa and sit behind Tom, right? Tom will leave at some point. It will happen.
Ooh, yes.
Just not this year. But for him, I'm like, okay, when he first came into the league, he was that hot item, right? He was in all the commercials, the Hulus and the everything. And of course, we've seen him in Progressive. That's been like the one thing that's really stuck to him this entire time. And all of those commercials have been, at home with Baker Mayfield, and they've used the Brown Stadium. From that point, I'm almost like, it would be better if you go somewhere else, because what more can you do with that one stadium? I'm sure Progressive has movers policies that you could take advantage of in this situation. Like, keep that one around. Because I don't know what else you might have. I mean, I think at this point, Baker Mayfield, you got to take what you can get.
Yeah, somebody in our live feed wrote that the final Progressive commercial will be Baker Mayfield getting evicted from his home in that stadium, which would be a hilarious commercial. Jeremy, we talked to you about Baker Mayfield yesterday, and I know he was the nemesis of your beloved Oklahoma State Cowboys for a while. But if you were advising him, I think what Shannon suggested, go to Tampa and sit behind Tom for a while. Learn from the GOAT, and get a little humble, and B, you'd inherit that job. What would you, if you were advising Baker Mayfield, where do you think would be a good place for him to go?
Well, I would tell him that I don't blame him for being in a weird frame of mind yesterday because, I mean, how could you blame him when you find out that the Houston Texans don't even want you? Who does want him? Or so it feels like. I would do exactly what Shannon's saying. It feels like his tenure in Cleveland is needs to come to an end probably for the benefit of both parties involved. And that doesn't mean the dude can't play. I mean, like you said, I've seen this guy torch my beloved Oklahoma State Cowboy defense. I mean, this guy has like something like that kind of baller mentality. He can make plays. And I mean, he's not Russell Wilson, he's not Joe Burrow, but he seems like an NFL quarterback to me. I would absolutely go somewhere, try to be a backup, and then try to work your way into a starting position once Father Time takes whoever's ahead of you out of the equation.
Yeah, and man, if you went to Tampa, not only you're, learning from Brady, and you're his understudy, but Bruce Arians. I mean, he's kind of a quarterback whisperer. So I think a lot could go right. Jason Paniagua saying, "What if Baker went to Pittsburgh?" That would benefit him as well. I think Pittsburgh would probably fall in love with Baker Mayfield if it went right. Baker's kind of, although Cleveland's a divisional rival, so there might already be some angst. But anyway, it's something to think about. Shannon, we can't underscore this enough. And Jeremy, our bracket extravaganza. We put the social media out there. Jeremy's already done his bracket. I still got to do mine today. Shannon's got to do hers. First game of the tournament is tomorrow in the 11 o'clock hour. You don't want to do what I'm doing is procrastinate. You want to get your bracket done as soon as possible. We would love for you to play with and against us in our bracket extravaganza. We'll see who is the best. We'll come up with some kind of a prize package, and we will mock and humiliate the worst, and that's a good chance that could be me. So, Shannon, any words of encouragement for bracket playing participants out there?
I have nothing. I mean, that's part of the madness. Choose by mascot, choose by your favorite jerseys, choose with your heart, choose with what go chalk. So many different ways you can do it. It's super easy to fill in. And like I said, it's fun. No matter how big of a basketball fan you are, just adds that extra level of interest to what's already a great time of year.
And one more story we didn't get to, and we talk about him a lot because he's a Longhorn, Connor Williams, who, on that offensive line with the Horns and most recently with the Cowboys, he's got a new team, the Miami Dolphins. Shannon, are you bummed that the Cowboys lose one of their rare Texas Longhorns?
No, it was exciting when he got drafted to the Cowboys because, again, Jerry just doesn't tend to draft Longhorns. It was great that he was staying in the state of Texas and near his home. But he did not really, I wouldn't say he had much hype coming in, but he didn't progress as he became a veteran in the league. And so to me, he got called a lot for holding. Oh my gosh. Connor Williams was a name that everyone knew, not because he was, outstanding on that line, but because his name was called so often by the referees involving with a yellow flag. So for me, I'm okay with him leaving. It was part of the news from the Cowboys yesterday that I was like, oh, that's not so bad. Of course, that happened before the Randy Gregory story hit.
Yeah, Randy, we don't like you anymore. But it may be. Hey, man, we may get Von Miller. We could get Bobby Wagner. Maybe both. We'll see. Shannon, spectacular as always. Fill out your bracket. I'll fill out mine, and everybody join us. Thank you, Shannon. Great job today, as always.
Wear green tomorrow. Wear green.
That's right. St. Patty's Day tomorrow. Shannon's going to be guzzling the Bushmills Black Bush Irish whiskey. Jeremy Kolok, you always rock the free world, rock the suburbs. We will see you tomorrow, and I'll have my bracket competing against yours.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Woo! Have yourself a great Wednesday. Fill out your brackets and join us on our bracket extravaganza. We've put the links out there. Come join us. We will see you in 21 hours. Adios, amigos. Thank you, Gail. I took a wild guess with Aloysius. I've been told your middle name now. I took a wild guess on Aloysius. I didn't know. Thank you. Thank you, Gail. All right. Jeremy Aloysius Kolok. Thank you. Pablo Perez, farewell. See y'all later. I got to call my car dealer, see if I've been without a car for like going on 2 weeks now. The engine blew out. I had to Uber home yesterday. It's not fun being carless. So I got to call them, say, what's the deal with my car? We're about to find out. All right. Y'all have a thank you, Jason. Thank you, Louisa. Anybody still in here? Play the bracket extravaganza with us. We will see you tomorrow. Go Spurs, go. Carlos Correa, please sign with the Astros. Von Miller, please sign with the Cowboys. That goes for you as well, Bobby Wagner. Have a great Wednesday. We'll see you on St. Patrick's Day or tonight on Spurs.